Hey y'all, I'm back again. Yeah, it's me, Loretta. Okay, I'm gonna try to finish this book out as best as I can. I'm not really sure. I know where I'm at. I'm in 20, chapter 20, and it says the famine. And I didn't like that other uh, video that I did the other day. I mean, while ago. Only reason why I didn't like it is because it put me way up in the corner, and it was really a gaming app, and I decided not to. And if you're watching me while I'm doing this, I'm going to be distracted by the babies. I got Horace. I got Horace right here, and I got Romulus or Remus. I called him that because figured out he's a twin. And then his twin is Osiris. And then he was going to be Isis, but he turned out to be Remus. And then we got, who else is over here? We got Dora. And then I think Osiris is in there, and Basti. Basti, she's a black and white kitten. And he is trying to decide to come up here. I think these are just about to be turned 2 months. And I know the Dora and Sherbert are almost 3, and they're the exact same size. I mean, really. Oh, he's gonna run. Okay. Um. Whoa. Let me see. You want to come up here? You want to come up here? Okay. He's deciding whether or not to come up here. But come on. Come on, Remus. Okay. Um. So let's get weird. I'm reading Story of Hiawatha. Yeah, they're gonna distract me. Story of Hiawatha. It's like a retelling of Hiawatha in better stuff. Okay, this is called The Famine. Okay, and I got it up on the screen, so I'm going to be looking towards you a lot. It's mainly because the camera's right here, and of course when I talk, I do a lot of gesturing. That's kind of why I didn't want to do videos, but that's what I do. Okay, 20, the famine. Oh, the cruel and bitter winter that followed. The ice on the rivers and the lakes became thicker and harder than ever before. The snow on the fields and in the forests was so deep that the Indians could not hardly force their way out of their buried wigwams. No game ran through the frozen thickets, no birds flew among the trees. In the level snow, the starving hunters could not find a single track of deer or rabbit. The corn in the village became less and less until it was all gone. Then the children began to cry with hunger. The women went about with faces pinched and drawn. I could see that, pinched and drawn. And the men drew their belts tighter and tighter every day. So they were really starving. At night, the stars in the heavens seemed to glaze like the eyes of ferocious wolves, and the cold wind moaned among the trees as if the very air was were suffering from want. It was an evil time. When the famine was at its worst, 2 more strange guests came to the wigwam of Hiawatha. Nor 2 more strange guests came to the wigwam of Hiawatha, nor did they linger at the doorway and wait to be divided in. They entered without a word, and with sunken eyes they gazed at Minnehaha, and one of them said in a hollow voice, "Look at me. My name is Famine." And the other one cried out, "I am Fever." Oh, really? That's scary. A little scary, but the lovely Hiawatha shivered as she saw them, and a great chill came over her. She laid down on her bed and hid her face, and as the wicked guests continued to gaze, she felt first burning heat, then icy coldness dart like arrows through her body. Hiawatha rushed into the forest to find some food for Minnehaha and to drive away the fearful visitors. But the forest was bleak and empty, and there were no food to be had. "Oh, great mummy Manitou." There, I said it right. Manitou. "Oh, great Manitou," cried Hiawatha. "Give me food for my dying Hiawatha." I mean, sorry. My eyes do that. They shift. Okay. "Oh, great Manitou," cried Hiawatha. "Give me food for my dying Minnehaha, before the fever and the fever and the famine tear her from me forever." But the great Matingo did not answer, and the silent forest only murmured dully, echoing the words of Hiawatha. As he bowed with his bow and arrows, he strode for miles through the deserted woods, where he had once led his young bride homeward from a land of the Dakotas. But now no animals peeped at him from amid the tree trunks, and there was no cheerful fluttering and singing in the branches. Everything was deadly silent, muffled with mighty cloak of snow. While he was searching in vain for food, the two dark figures in the wigwam drew closer to Minnehaha until they crouched on either side of her bed of branches, and one of them said in hollow tones, "I am Famine," and the other cried out, "I am Fever." And they leaned over the bed and fixed their sunken eyes on Minnehaha, and Narcusum could not frighten them away. I did. I couldn't remember her name, and I got. And I did a trilogy. I do got a triptych that I painted. I call them Hiawatha's women, and I got each one of their names. I got and then because I couldn't figure how to spell her name, Nokomis. I looked her up, and she's a moon goddess, apparently, and that's but I do know Minnehaha is. I think she's not a demigod. She's just a normal human. Okay, that little tidbit come in here. Okay. "Hark," said Hiawatha. No, my brain's got Hiawatha on it. Oh, my stupid brain. Okay. "Hark," said Minnehaha, as the fever gazed upon her. "I hear the rushings and the roarings. I hear the falls of Minnehaha calling my name, calling me from the land of the Dakotas." "No, my child," said Nokomis. "It is nothing but the wild of the night that blows amid the pine trees." "Look, said Minnehaha as the fever drew still closer to her bed. I see my father standing in his doorway, and I'm seeing him beckon me to come to his wigwam. Oh no, child, said Nokomis sadly. It is nothing but the smoke of our fire curling upward to the smoke up to upwards to the smoke flute. Oh, said Minnehaha, I see the eyes of death glaring at me in the darkness. I feel his icy fingers clasping mine. Hiawatha, Hiawatha. The wretch, the wretched Hiawatha, that's what it says. The wretched Hiawatha, miles away in a dark forest, heard Minnehaha crying his name, and he hurried homeward with a sunken heart. But before he reached his wigwam, he heard the voices of Nokomis wailing through the night. What a sight met his eyes as he burst into his dreary lodge. Nokomis was rocking sadly to and fro, moaning and weeping, and Minnehaha lay cold upon her bed of branches. I know I opt the word out, but because I didn't want to get thing, but I'm just reading it straight. Give me a second. I got some homemade iced coffee. And this is my name. So I just got a cup that had my name on it. So, my last name. Okay. Hiawatha gave such a cry of sorrow that the forest shuddered and groaned, and even the stars in heaven trembled. Then he sat down at the feet of Minnehaha and covered his face with both his hands. 7 days and nights he sat there without moving or speaking, and he did not know whether it was night or day. Oh yeah, just in case somebody comes, one of my cats come up here, that's going to be Dean if he decides it might be too hot for him and he's going to be up there. Then you'll see black cats. I mean, basically every one of my cats are black. Chi-Chi is orange, Donnie's orange, and Sherbet's orange, but Sherbet's too little. Chi-Chi wants to stay outside, and Donnie stays outside, so you'll definitely see more Dean because he likes to be there in that window, in that little space. Or Samo. Samo, he likes to come and he likes to get on my easel over here. Get on this table and sit in this easel. Okay, let me get back. At last he rose and wrapped Minnehaha in her soft robes of ermine, and then made a grave for her in the snow beneath the hemlock tree. 4 nights they kindled the fire on her grave, so that her soul may be cheerful, have a cheerful light upon its journey to the blessed islands. And Hiawatha watched from the doorway of his wigwam to see that the fire was burning brightly, so she might never be left in the darkness. And he said, "Farewell, Minnehaha, my heart is burning with you, and before long my task here will be finished, and I will join you in the blessed islands. So I shall follow in your footsteps to the land of hereafter." Okay, you're gonna see me grab a hold of this because I sprayed a while ago, but these open the door and flies. Okay, and I'm in the south and it's hot in here. Okay, now we're at chapter 21. Okay, let me see where I'm at in time. Okay, so we're at chapter 21. The White Man's Foot. Okay, so this is going to talk about my ancestors. Okay, well, my white ancestors. This previous was I was reading was from my native ancestors. Yes, it's true. Not fiddling, but it's true because I did my research and everything, and I can find it. And I should, go get the ticket, but it's kind of washed out. Okay, 21. The White Man's Foot. In a lodge built close beside the frozen river sat an old man, whose hair was whiter than the whitest snow, and he shook and trembled as he sat there, hearing nothing but the gale that rushed outside and seeing nothing but snowflakes that heaped, and whirled about his chilly wigwam. All the coals of his fire was covered with white ashes, and the fire itself was dying away unheededly when a bright youth with red blood in his cheeks walked lightly through the open doorway. On his head was a crown of fresh and sweet-smelling grass. His lips were curved in a beautiful smile, and he carried in his hand a bunch of flowers that filled the lodge with the fragrance of wildwood. Yeah, watching this baby. Ah, my son, said the old man, it does my old eyes good to gaze upon you. Take a seat beside my fire, and we will pass the night together. Tell me your travels and your strange adventures, and let me tell you all the wonderful deeds that I have done. The old man drew a peace pipe from his pouch, filled it with willow bark, and handed it to the young, beautiful stranger, who smoked in silence while he listened to the old man's words. When I blew my breath out about me, said the old man, the waters became as hard as stone, and the rivers could not move. When I breathed upon the meadows and woodlands, answered the young stranger with a shiny smile, the flowers rise like magic, and the rivers with a song go rushing on again. When I shake my long white hair, said the old man scourily, the land is buried in snow, and leaves fade away and fall to earth. When I raise my voice, the ground becomes like flint, and the wild fowl fly away, and the wild beasts of the forest hide in fear. That sounds interesting, but I'm not gonna. Whenever I get the end of this, I'm not reading the one from Longfellow, the story of Longfellow. Yeah, it's included in his book, but no, I ain't gonna read it. That's too many words. You gotta think it's what 1700s, early 1800s. Okay, I have to think about history. Okay. Fowl fly away, and the beasts of the forest hide for fear. When I shake my flowering ringlets, said the young man with a light laugh, the warm rain falls on the hill and fields, and the wild geese and the heron come back to the marshes. Homeward flies the swallow, and the robin and the bluebird sing for joy. Wherever I go, the woodlands ring with music, and the meadows become blue and with violet. While they were speaking, the The giant sun leaped up above the horizon and shot its beams of orange and gold through the doorway of the wigwam. The air became warm and pleasant, and the light of the morning, the and in the light of the morning, the young stranger saw the icy face of the old man, and you knew he had spent the night with Peabon, P. Peabon, the winter. For the old man's eyes, the tears were running like two streams. The water was dripping from his hair, and his body shrank until it vanished into the ground. On the hearth stone there okay, give me on and on the hearthstone where the old man's fire had been smoking bloomed the earliest flowers of springtime. Thus the young stranger's spring came back from the drive away the icy chill of that dreadful winter and famine. To northward passed the wild swans calling to one another, and the birds and the pigeons and the robins sang in the thicket until the grieving Hiawatha heard their voices and went forth from his gloomy wigwam to graze upon warm blue sky. Okay, I see what it is. So the white man foot was just winter. So I've never really read Hiawatha, so I didn't know. I thought it was going to be talking about when the Mayflower came, or when Jamestown came, or even when the Vikings came. I mean, or even when the Spanish came. Okay, let's get back to the story. Sorry, my brain just goes that because I've never read the story before. Okay, let's get back to it. It says, from his wanderings in the east returned Iago, and the great boaster, full of stories more wonderful than any that he had ever told. And the people laughed as they listened to him, saying, cold and famine have not harmed Iago. He is just the same as ever, and has seen more wonders in his travels than the great Manitou himself. I finally got that word, Manitou. Okay? Than the great Manitou himself. I have seen the waters greater than the big sea, cried Iago, much greater, and over it came a huge canoe with large white wings that carried it along. Hold on, now we're starting to talk about it. Okay. It can't be true, cried the Indians, laughing at Iago. We don't believe one word of what you said. From a canoe, went Iago, came thunder and lightnings, and 100 warriors landed on the beach. Their faces were painted white, and there was hair on their chins. What lies you tell us, shouted all the people. Don't think that we believe you. Hiawatha only did not join in the roar of laughter at Iago's words, calling forth all the men and women and children to listen who were there. What he tells is true, said Hiawatha. I have seen it in a dream. I have seen a great canoe of the white-faced people come sailing from the land of sunrise, and I have seen the people moving swiftly westward under the guidance of the great Manito, until the fires of his wigwam smoked in all the valleys, while their canoes rushed over all the lakes and rivers. Let them come. Let's welcome them, said Hiawatha. Let us give them our best and call them brothers, for the great Manito has sent them, and they come to do his bidding. Then I had another vision. Hiawatha went on sadly. I saw my people fighting with one another, forgetting the warning of the great Manito. The forests were and the forests where we hunted, and the rivers where we fished and trapped the beaver, knew our faces and our voices no more, for our people were scattered like the autumn leaves until no Indians were left on earth. And when his voice died away, the Indians sat in silence and looked at one another with sudden fear. So it did go. Talk about the ships coming. Would it be be more the Spanish. If I know my history, let's see, Spanish, and then the English. Well, at first it was the Vikings, and then they forgot about it, and then it's the Spanish, and then it's the English, and then there's the French and the German, and everybody else come flying over here. And of course the French, trappers and everything, and they went deep, and so did Hernando de Soto. He, let's see, just up the road here, about not more, about 10 miles, maybe 20 miles. There's they finally found a cross up here at the park, parking. They found the cross and they got met, all that stuff. We went up there about a couple of years ago just for fun. Went twice. First time I went, the museum part was closed. This time we went up there, and that's where my daughter got her nice pretty purse, even though the purse is more from South America, not up here, not Mississippian or anything. Yeah, I know a little bit of that. Okay, now we're at 22. Hiawatha's departure. And I think we're almost through with the book. I think that was the last one. Okay. So 22, Hiawatha's departure. On the shore of the big sea water, that would be, let's see, which one's the saltiest one? It's one of the big Great Lakes. That's what the big sea water is. Because I'm sure one of them is salty. Okay, never mind. Okay, let's get back to the book because my mind's just shot off into space. Okay, 22. Hiawatha's departure. On the shores of the big seawater, in the sunny morning, Hiawatha stood in the doorway of his wigwam, gazing out over the shiny lake. The sky was bright and blue above him. The pebbles sparkled on the beaches, and the still water reflected the great pine trees of the forest. Every trace of sorrow was gone from Hiawatha's face, and with a smile of joy, he lifted and opened his hands towards the blazing sun to shade his eyes. Okay, he went like that. Lift his open hands. Okay, he went like this. Every trace. Okay, lift up his hands towards to hide his face and shade his eyes. He was watching something that floated far out on the water. Some image that had some image which he couldn't see plainly. I know I got the words mixed up, but I guess I'm a little bit, but which was drawing nearer and nearer to the village. At and last he saw that it was a birch canoe with paddles flashing as they rose and fell, and in it came the white-faced people from the land of sunrise, led by the bearded chief in a black coat, who wore a cross upon his breast. Also, he saw the priest. The canoe grated on the pebbles, and Hiawatha, with his hands outstretched as a sign of friendship, called to them. The sun is fair to look upon, O strangers, cried Hiawatha. Our town waits for you in peace, and the doors of all our wigwams stand open to receive you. Our tobacco never was so sweet and pleasant, and our waving cornfields never seemed so beautiful to behold as this morning, when you visit us from off far off lands. And the chief of the strange people, the bearded man in the black coat, answered, stammering a little, from the language of the Indians was strange to him. May the peace of Christ be with you and your people, Hiawatha. Then the noble-hearted Hiawatha led them to the wigwam, where he seated them on skins of bison and ermine, which is like ermine is a mink, while Nokomis brought them water in cups of birch bark and food in bowls of polished basswood. And when they had done eating, peace pipes were filled with willow bark and lighted for them to smoke. All the Indians, all the warriors and old men and the magicians of the village came to welcome the great strangers, and they sat around the doorway of Hiawatha's wigwam in a large circle, smoking their pipes and waiting for the strangers to come forth to speak to them. The black-robed chief went out from the wigwam, greeting all the Indians, and said, while they said to him, "O brother, it was well that you have come so far to see us." Then the bearded man in the black robe commenced speaking, showing them the cross that he wore upon his breast, and told them about Christ and the Virgin Mary, and how the wicked tribe, the Jews, had taken Christ and crucified him long ago, and the Indians smoked in silence, listening to his words. Yeah, Catholics, yeah. They were mainly the ones that came, and yeah, he would be the priest. Okay, get back to the book. It is well, they said when he had finished. We will think upon your words of wisdom. We are pleased. Then they rose and went home to their wigwams, where they told the young men and women all about the strangers who had been sent by the great Manito And in Hiawatha's lodge, the strangers, weary from their journey and the summer's heat, stretched themselves upon the robes of ermine and fell fast asleep. Well, that's true. Okay, let's get here. It says, slowly a coolness fell upon the air, and the rays of every thicket sunset glided every thicket of the forest where Hiawatha, rose from his seat and whispered to Nokomis, saying, "O Nokomis, I am going on a long journey to the land of sunset and the home of the northwest wind. See that no harm comes from these guests, whom I leave in your care. See that fear and danger, or want of food and shelter, never come near them in the lodge of Hiawatha." Forth went Hiawatha to the village, and he bade farewell to all the warriors and to all the young men, saying to them, "My people, I am going on a distant journey, and many winters will have passed before I come once more among you. Listen to the truth my guests tell you, for the great Manito has sent them, and I leave them in your care. And now, farewell," cried Hiawatha. On the shores of the big sea water, for the last time, Hiawatha launched his birch canoe, pushing it out among the rushes and whispering to it, "Westward, westward." It darted forward like an arrow, and the rays of the setting sun shot along a fiery path over the smooth waters of the lake. Down this path of light sailed Hiawatha on his birch canoe, right into the flaming sunset, and the Indians on the shore saw him moving on and on until he became a tiny speck against the splendor of the clouds. With a final lift and fall of his canoe rose upon a sunbeam, and it disappeared into the crimson clouds. To the crimson side, the Indians cried all out, "Farewell, farewell, O Hiawatha." The trees in the forest and the waves on the edge of the lake and every living creature that ran or swam or flew took up the cry, "Farewell, Hiawatha." For Hiawatha had disappeared forever in the kingdom of the northwest wind and the islands of the blessed. So, that's the end of that in this book, and then it actually starts going in to the poem Hiawatha. There really is no need to read it, and it's a big book. This book is what, 271 pages, and so he sailed off and he died. Yeah, that's interesting. I've really never read the story of Hiawatha. I've heard bits and pieces of it. I think my grandmother, when I was little, really, really little, I think she did read it to us. I just don't remember. Really, I don't. But I think she did read it to us. I know we did a lot of stuff that we when growing up, we did a lot of stuff and everything. Okay, so I am at the 40-minute mark, and I guess we'll see what I can do on the next episode. Just keep us in your prayers, okay? Thanks. See you next time. Oh, don't forget to subscribe. Bye.